The College Bowl schedule is set and you won't want to miss a single winner. The best way to do that is to buy a College Bowl package. The College Bowl package sells for $2.99, but order now and save 50% and get the complete bowl package from your favorite WagerTalk or Sports Memo capper for just $1.49. This gets you every single College Bowl release from your favorite capper, including all 5% plays. These 5% plays sell for $40 by themselves. Hurry, as this is a limited time offer.
Yeah, and you guys can start, of course, by heading over to WagerTalk.com. That's a good spot to do it. Obviously, bowl season is almost upon us here. Great opportunity not only to profit from WagerTalk.com, but SportsMemo.com, and, of course, some of the best cappers from around the country, which also happen to be joining us right now here today on the NBA Tip-Off Show. It is powered by WagerTalk.com. I'm Joe Raineri, joined, of course, Mr. Profit. You know he's got to be good. Profit's in his damn name. Hakeem Profit there. Of course, Rob Veno joining us. Rob Veno Sports on Twitter, sportsmemo.com, and the man himself, the legend. I don't know. I mean, words do not describe Mr. Marco in Vegas here. Really, we've been trying to find for about 20 minutes here the words. We haven't, so we'll go ahead and say Marco in Vegas joining us here on the NBA Tip-Off Show as well. Marco, how are you, brother?
Geez, how much do I owe you for that introduction?
Terrible, man, terrible. Checks in the mail. I know, I've heard it. Believe me, man, I've heard it. I've had the Prez on this show before, too. I understand how that works. Marco, first and foremost, congratulations to you. Your first 5% play of the NBA season was a winner last night, man. Way to go. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. Utah Jazz came home for us last night. Wish they were all that easy, but we'll take the win and keep it going. You know, now that football's, winding down, we got all the college done, just the bowls ahead of us. We can dive a little further into the college basketball and NBA. So exciting time of the year for me.
Yeah, it's exciting time, period. And, of course, Rob Veno joining us, Rob Veno, sportsmemo.com. Rob, we haven't seen you in a while, man, but from what I understand, you are crushing it in the NBA, my man.
Yeah, it's been a good start, buddy. 27-18, 59% so far to start the season. Got to go back at it tonight. Short card, but I think there's one out there that we can cash in on. So, yeah, NBA's tough. You guys know it's a little bit different than the other sports that we handicap. But once you start to get a read on it, I think you get in that little bit of a zone and can start banging out these winners. So we're doing good right now. Let's let it continue.
That's it, man. SportsMemo.com is where you can find Rob, of course, on Twitter at Rob Veno Sports, and, of course, the Profit. Anytime you got a dude with the word profit in it, you know what's going on there. He's a regular here on the show, Hakeem Profit. And, brother, man, listen, we talked, congratulations to you on the show yesterday. There was one play that you were pretty adamant about there before we got off air, and that was you were looking at Cleveland, man, and you were looking at that first half going, listen, Cleveland ain't playing for Bielema, man. They just ain't doing it. Well, they played in the second half for him for a little while anyway, but congratulations. You laid the first half, and that was a cha-ching, man.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I love that. That was probably my best bet. I would definitely love that one. And we cashed on the Pacers as the dog play and did have one loser, though. The extra play I added when we were waiting for Tony Finn was a loser. So 2-1, I'll take it.
That's what happens when you get Finn involved in crap. That's what goes on there. All right, fellas, before we dive into some of these games here tonight, 4 on the card. We'll go through each and every one of them, get the guys' thoughts on these. We'll start, of course, with a little bit of what we pulled away with last night. And Ski, I'll start with you. Kawhi Leonard got a ring and then just completely bulldozed his whole team. Like, what the hell was that? We talked about Toronto. We talked about a lot of undervalued opportunities to start the season with them, but it looks like now, especially with Van Fleet out, they've had losses now. I believe 4 out of their last 5 have not gone well for them. So is it time to maybe coming back to reality here a little bit with this Toronto team?
I think you just want to wait to back them. Ever since Kyle Lowry came back, like we said, and Ibaka, it's just been a little bit different. The offense hasn't really been the same. And missing Van Fleet yesterday, that was a big loss. So I'll just wait for them to get their rhythm back all together, and then they'll be backable again.
Marco, what do you think, man? I mean, it's been a rough stretch. It was nice last night. I give it to the fans of Toronto. Listen, I mean, classy organization from top to bottom. They really went out of the way, and it was good. It was a really nice. And then, of course, to watch them just kind of bulldoze them on the court they won the championship is kind of cruel in so many different ways. But Toronto's just 3-8 against teams over 500. So how concerned are you with this team?
Well, they're going to be one of the contenders in the Eastern Conference for sure. As Ski pointed out, they were playing well with the lineup that they had. And then anytime you change that lineup, and even though this is the lineup it's supposed to have been, you got to get, back in the rhythm. And guys sometimes are a little bit hesitant in taking shots. They don't want to step on other people's toes. And it disrupts the rhythm that they had. They'll be fine. They're going to contend. I don't think they're the best team in the East. That's going to come down to, the 76ers, if they continue to play well on a consistent basis. Unfortunately, that's not been the case for them. Too often they play to the level of the competition. I'm still a big fan of the Milwaukee Bucks, and I think they're the team that you got to go through to win the East.
Rob, let's talk about the Milwaukee Bucks. No Giannis yesterday. We were watching on the show. Opened up as a minus 14 as they were taking on the Pelicans at home, and then all of a sudden it was 12, 11, 10, 9. Made it all the way down to, I believe, 9, even 8.5 in some places there yesterday. No Giannis. Nobody thought that they could cover without him. Yeah, no. 127 to 112, Rob Veno. The Milwaukee Bucks, they don't need Giannis. They got apparently they got more than enough firepower to be able to beat everybody.
Well, they need Giannis. We don't want to get too carried away. They need Giannis. But, boy, the depth on that team, Joe, is tremendous. The Clippers have that type of depth in the West. Obviously, we saw that on display last night. And for teams that don't, when it gets shortened up a little bit, the rotation gets shortened up, it becomes a little tougher. Ski talked about Fred VanVleet. It's a little bit tougher when you're without a key cog and you're playing a good team. In Milwaukee's case, they weren't playing a good team, but I say, you just go through that box score from last night. The depth is incredible. They're going to be a force in the East. I'm going to throw one more in there real quick, Prez, because Prez got...
Holy crap. All right, that's enough for you. We're cutting your ass off right now. Oh, my word. What the...
Yikes.
What an insult.
Holy crap. Holy...
That probably deserves a 2-year ban. Holy cow.
That's a tee, man. I'm teeing him up, Ski. I'm teeing him up right there, man. You're going to be kidding me.
Wow.
Dick.
But, hey, I was glad to see on the internet this morning that Victor Oladipo is finally done with being on The Masked Singer and he can come play basketball again, because once he plays for the Pacers, I think the Pacers are going to be that next team in there to step up and maybe be a competitor with the big three, I would call them, in the East: Philly, Boston, and Milwaukee.
Yeah, it was, and we've talked about this, Ski, Indiana, especially with that Boston game last night. Just didn't know it. The line didn't quite make any sense. We were kind of split on whether it was Boston or it was Indiana, but Boston kind of opened the door for him, and Indiana walked right through in that game last night.
Yeah, and as we talked about, Pacers a lot better at the house, and I think all of the Celtics losses have been on the road, so definitely, I understand how the game went that way.
Yeah. I don't know, Marco, are you a big believer in Boston this year? I know you like Milwaukee. They kind of proved it last night. They, like Rob said, depth is absurd.
Yeah, Boston's going to be a team that's going to be there at the end as well. One of the best coaches in the NBA, obviously, with Brad Stevens. And obviously, with the changes that went down in Boston in the offseason, use the old adage, addition by subtraction there. So I think they're going to be there, but I just don't think they have enough to get by Milwaukee. This is Milwaukee's year, I believe. We talk about NBA, how teams have to have those growing, the stepping stones, and last year Milwaukee was definitely a learning experience for them. They were still a young ball club. I think they take it to the next level this year, and I agree with Rob in the West. I know it's not going to make Ski happy with all that Lakers stuff he's got behind him there, but the Clippers are the best team in LA. They're the complete team. And when we get to the playoffs and defense wins out, we'll see if LeBron's got enough to continue to play defense all through the season and into the playoffs. The Clippers are, I think, the most complete team built to win. They've got the offensive firepower. They got the team bench strength, and they got the best defensive player in basketball with Kawhi Leonard. I don't know how they lose it. We'll see if Doc Rivers can find a way to screw it up, but that's my choice looking at Milwaukee versus the Clippers.
We all know there's only one person that can screw up those guys, and that's Father Time. He's usually a bitch. And, I don't know. LeBron so far has managed to avoid him. And Ski, I mean, you listen, it's obvious you go to bed at night there with LeBron over your shoulder. So I'm curious, man. Do you feel maybe he's playing an awful lot of games here? I mean, we talk load management and laugh, but he ain't taking no nights off, man.
Yeah, I like that about this team this year. I mean, it's a new group together. You have to have some type of chemistry. You can't be taking, like, look at Paul George and Kawhi. It was a couple of games ago. They said they've only practiced together once. You have to get the chemistry going. That's what the Lakers started doing since the offseason. So I like that. And as far as the load management, Lakers have been blowing everybody out. LeBron and Anthony Davis don't even have to play minutes in the fourth quarter, really. So they get a rest. I would like to see them take games off. And I do have to disagree. I mean, I disagree with Marco. The Lakers have a great defense, team defense. Anthony Davis could be Defensive Player of the Year. You know I'm going with the Lakers. You see my guys behind me.
Really? It's a shock. I didn't see that coming at all, Ski. Not at all. All right, let's dive into some of these games here tonight. Again, short card. And once again, a reminder, guys, WagerTalk.com. If you head over there right now, Marco and Ski, they got plays up there, plays available at WagerTalk.com today, tomorrow, of course, all throughout the weekend. And, of course, you can grab Rob Veno over at SportsMemo.com. Help yourselves. Get over there. Rob crushing it again, 27 and 18 thus far, 59% on the season. Marco drains his first 5% play of the day. You like that, Marco? Drains it from three. Grabs Utah last night, helping a whole lot of people make an awful lot of money. So, guys, we'll start in the East tonight because big matchup. We mentioned, Boston there now playing a back-to-back. They lost last night on the road in Indiana. They find themselves at home, but taking on a Philadelphia 76ers team. Game opens up around 1.5 there for the Celtics at home. Kind of a little reverse line shift here, guys. 1.5 now, looking at the Sixers in a whole lot of places. A lot of money coming their way. Total still hanging around that 210, 211 mark. And Ski, I'll start with you, brother. Sixers, Celtics, man. What do you think of this game tonight?
It's a tricky one. There's a lot of wrenches being thrown into the game now. I see Marcus Smart is out, and Williams is going to be out, and Hayward is upgraded to probable. Boston, they've been great on second and back-to-back. I mean, they're 2-0 against the spread, and we know they play up for competition. 9-0 against the spread versus 55% when teams are greater. Looking at the other side, Philadelphia, much better at the house than on the road. They're 5-7, I think, straight up on the road. They're 3-6 against the spread their last 9. They're not necessarily playing too well. I don't like that Marcus Smart is out. I would much rather him be in. But Boston have shown they show up in back-to-backs. They've shown they play for competition. They're at the house. I will be backing Boston or nothing.
All right, Marco, I'm going to go to you, brother, because let's face it, if there are teams that just play well, kind of own other teams, Boston's kind of that team to Philadelphia. They kind of own their ass over the last whole bunch of times they've played each other, haven't they?
Yeah, the last 3 seasons, Boston's 11-3 against the spread against Philadelphia. And the line movement, part of it's with the Smart injury, but also the public loves to overreact to teams that are playing back-to-back games versus a team that has rest, and the rested team is Philadelphia. So that's why you're seeing some of that money going to the Philadelphia side. I can't do it. Boston, like we said, they've owned Philadelphia. Not only have they owned Philadelphia, they have owned the division. The last 3 seasons, Boston's 17-5 against the spread in home games against division opponents. And, Philadelphia, we talk about them, with the inconsistency. How about the fact that they're 4-18 against the spread after covering 2 or more in a row? They don't like to string them together. I'm going to go ahead and look to Boston in this one. I think they get the job done. And last night's loss, granted, Indiana's a team that they shouldn't look past, but if you got 2 games and one of them is Indiana and one of them is Philadelphia, you're going to be looking more towards the Philadelphia because that's the team that, gets all the notoriety. in the division with you. I'll go ahead and take Boston tonight.
All right, Boston it is. Let's go, Prez. I mean, Rob Veno. Let's figure out which way you're going, man. What do you think? It has been kind of a one-sided rivalry here. What do you think about this game tonight?
Yeah, well, the situational outside the court angles here to look at tonight, Joe, especially since I'm here in the southeastern corner of Pennsylvania. Boy, oh boy, Charles Barkley and Shaquille O'Neal ignited a fire the other night when they ripped into Joel Embiid for a 22-point performance and not having any desire to play well against Nikola Jokic in that game against Denver. Philly Sports Talk Radio could not defend Embiid anymore. Like I say, there's been a little bit of fire lit, and it'll be interesting to see in this key game in the Eastern Conference if Joel Embiid took that criticism to heart and is going to come out here and shred Boston, because let's face it, he's got the matchup and the ability to do so in this game. Ski referred to Boston's solid record in back-to-back situations, and again, I think that goes to their depth. You know, they're a team that can overcome one injury. Last night they were without Gordon Hayward for the most part and without Marcus Smart. And when you throw these cluster injuries together, it can get a little tough on the road. But any team that's got their kind of depth, they're a team that any guy can carry the team on any given night. And, of course, as a Connecticut-born native, I'm a Kemba Walker guy. So any team with Kemba in a big game, to me, always is a good way to look. But it really, what happened the other night does influence me a little bit to the Embiid side here. I think this is going to be a real competitive game. Remember, Al Horford's going to be back here for the first time, so there's some fire for Philadelphia where that's concerned as well. I don't like the fact that the line moved, and I don't want to lay the points with Philly in this contest. To me, it seems like a little bit of a toss-up, but I will look at the under here, guys, because when they want to, I don't know that there's a bigger team or a better defensive team than Philadelphia. When they want to shut people down, they can shut people down.
Yeah, I think the first meeting between these two went under as well. I don't even think that either team scored 100 points. I think in the first time that they the first go around. So you're right. Under might be the play to look at there. You got a game number 2 here on the card tonight, guys. I don't know. It's very confusing. I don't get the San Antonio Spurs. We haven't gotten them all damn year. What I do know is that it was a terrible spot last night for the Cleveland Cavaliers. Again, congratulations, Ski nailed it there. First half against Houston at home. Back in Houston, just didn't come out of the gate. They were impressive. They did make a nice run there. I think a 22-0 run there to be able to stick it to Houston, but they couldn't stop the beard. I don't know. A 7-game losing streak here. I don't know what to think about San Antonio, except for the fact I can tell you guys, they're laying a lot of points here. 10. It's been pushed up to 11.5. The number is hanging around 219. Marco, I'll start with you, man. Do you trust San Antonio in this spot, even though it's Cleveland on a back-to-back?
No, I can't. San Antonio, this has been just a horrible season. Pop's got to be pulling out what Harry's got left, and I can understand that with my problems. We'll leave that go. But you look at this Cleveland, I mean, you talk about a train wreck. This is a team that's 1-14 straight up the last 15 games, 4-11 against the spread. But you look at San Antonio, and they can't get things done. Yeah, they've won 3 of their last 4, and, amazingly, as bad as they've played, they win 2 games recently against 2 very good teams in the Clippers in Houston. So you start to get excited and say, hey, have they turned things around? And then they just barely got by Sacramento, laying 4.5 the other night. I'm going to look to Cleveland plus the points in this one. San Antonio was a home favorite this season, 1-8 against the spread. All games total this year, they're just 5-17 against the spread. We're getting some extra points in this game because of that factor of playing back-to-back games with them. And for Cleveland, when you're playing back-to-back games and you're doing the Houston to San Antonio shuffle, that's one of the shortest road trips that you could have on the back-to-back. So no problem there. I'm going to go ahead and look for Cleveland to, lose again, but stay under the number. There's just no way I can be looking at laying double digits with the Spurs at this point in time with the Spurs.
Yeah, it's brutal. You're right. He's losing what hair he's got left. And Ski, I mean, listen, he's reaching, man. You can tell it. He's got Rudy Gay playing the damn 5, all right? So, you can do that against Cleveland, but if that's going to be what you're planning on doing to be able to try and dig yourself out of this hole, it's not going to work, man. But maybe tonight. Is it enough tonight? I mean, back-to-back wins and overtime, I guess. I don't know. They're home.
It's tough for me. For sure I don't trust Cleveland. I'm out on Cleveland.
Yeah.
I'm not backing them at all. And San Antonio, I don't really trust them either, especially to win by double digits. So I'll have to look at the total. And looking at the last 5 game stats, Cleveland playing at the slowest pace in the league. Spurs kind of middle of the pack. Spurs kind of stepped their defense up a little bit, and the offenses haven't really been there for either team. So I'll lean towards less points with this back-to-back for Cleveland. It's went under 8 of their last 9 games, under 6 of the last 8 for San Antonio. So I'll rock with less points. I agree with the line move to the under.
It's not been good there, Rob Veno. At home for San Antonio, 6-6-1 here as far as the totals go. They're actually giving up more points at home than they're scoring. It's just been a mess here, man. Which one of these teams do you trust less?
Yeah, there's no choice there, Joe. I mean, you just have to, for me, I have to just put a red X through the side. And I'm totally on board with what Ski was just saying. I would have brought up a couple of those points as well if he didn't beat me to it. But, Coach Popovich has implored this team to play some type of defense. They've responded somewhat. 5 of their last 7 have gone under the total. The couple that didn't were against really high-powered offenses, and I think they gave up over 130 in both of those. So they're still not a good defensive team. But they're going to play a team that shot 52% last night, thinking that that's going to happen for the Cleveland Cavaliers on back-to-back nights, thinking that Kevin Porter Jr. is going to go off again on back-to-back nights. I don't think that's reasonable. They're one of the least efficient offensive teams in the league. So if ever there's a night where Greg Popovich can get this team to play some defense, it would be against a team that can't play any offense. I would have preferred a number, as we see so commonly in the NBA nowadays, in the 220s, but we get what we get. I think it was 219 and a half pushed down to 219, 218 and a half here. Problem is Cleveland can't stop anybody, so you worry about how much San Antonio might score. But I think I'd still lean towards the under in this game.
All right, so an interesting game to say the least there, as the point spread has everyone a little confounded here, or at least shying away from the home team. How about this game? Dallas-Detroit here, guys. And the Mavs right now opened up as a 5-point favorite on the road against the Pistons. That's moved to about a 7 across the board, pretty much I'm seeing here. Total opens up at 220.5, hanging around that 219.5, anywhere in between there. And Rob, I'll start with you, man. What do you do here? Dallas, brutal, and I mean brutal in a good way. They are just dominant, especially on the road against the number this year. Do you like them in this spot in Detroit?
Yeah, I'm all in on the love affair with Luka Doncic and the Dallas Mavericks, Joe, but I have to tell you, as far as power ratings is concerned, and boy, for those who don't keep them, honestly, you need to, because it keeps you grounded, and I know our eyes can get carried away with ourselves as far as betting teams is concerned. My power ratings in this game show Dallas a 1.5-point favorite on the road at Detroit. And this thing has risen all the way to 7. So there's zero value in betting the Dallas Mavericks. To me, it's a huge overreaction to a team that's, and I'm not saying they can't win by more than 7, believe me. They've lit it up this year. It's interesting to see Rick Carlisle, a defensive-minded head coach, just let the horses run, because that's what he has on this team. He's adapted well to the talent. But boy, oh boy, I can't lay 7 with Dallas in a game where the power ratings show 1.5, and in a game where Andre Drummond has the best matchup on the floor. Dwight Powell's a little bit banged up, and Dallas doesn't really have a legit center to begin with. So if you don't get 20-plus and, 16, 18 boards out of Drummond tonight, you're never going to get them. Detroit's been playing better lately. It's become a more cohesive unit. You look at a couple of the player quotes after their last win. I think +7 might be a way to look here, guys, as well as in any Dallas game at this point in time, you have to start with the over, especially when it's this low. Maybe over's worth it too, but I see a lot of value in the Detroit side plus points.
Let me point out, too, this is actually a neutral game, as if we ever have, though. It's like college here. This game's in Mexico City here tonight between Detroit and Dallas, which makes it a little bit interesting. Might be a little bit closer to Dallas here to a home game than anything else. But the fact remains, when Dallas is away, Marco, 16-3 against the spread on the road, man. They have just been straight money against the number on the road this year.
Yeah, and obviously that's the reason why the power rating's there and the line is what it's at. Dallas road games after a loss, little stat for you on them. The last 2 seasons, they're 9-1 against the spread if they're playing on the road off of a loss by 6 points or less. This team bounces back big time. And I'm looking at this one, in the last game for Dallas in which they played, it was against Sacramento. They come up short against them. Now, Sacramento's been playing a lot better this season, better than I expected them to play. And for Dallas, it had to be a little bit of feeling fat and sassy. I mean, just the night before, they played on back-to-back games, the 7th and the 8th, and they played the Pelicans, and they blew the doors off them, 130-84. You come off a win like that, and you've got to play the very next night. I'm going to just attribute that to that subpar performance from Dallas. And if you go prior to that, this is a team that had won 5 in a row, both straight up and against the spread. And you go back a ways, this is a team that's 10-2 against the spread, straight up and ATS. I'm not going to jump in front of them. I think they get the job done. I don't trust the Pistons. This is a team that, they show glimpses very sporadically. And right now, they are on a 4-1 run, both straight up and against the spread. But I think that stops tonight. And after this game, they've got Houston on deck. A couple tough games in a row for them. I'm going to go ahead, take Dallas. I'll lay the points with them tonight in Mexico.
Interesting, Ski. Number one, Mexico City game, kind of a neutral court here, but I think 3 out of the last 5 for Detroit, the winning team has gotten at least 127 points. So defense not a priority, so to speak. But overs have been pretty profitable here in this spot. Both these teams have actually been scoring points, and I don't know, are you like the total in this game at all?
I wouldn't be probably playing the total, but if I was, I would be looking towards an over. Over 7 of the 10 road games for Dallas, over 4 of the last 6 for Detroit. Dallas offense is just great, and it being you brought up a good point, Joe. It being away like in Mexico City, I don't really think we see less points than more points, and also it makes a difference in my cap for the side. Detroit is a team that I'm not backing away from home. Anytime they're not at home, I'm not looking Detroit's way. And they've only won, like I said, 3 games away from the house. Dallas, they're 4-1 as a road favorite, 5-1 against the number of their last 6 games in general, 7-4 versus lesser teams, 45% win teams or less. I would be looking at Dallas. They've been dominant on the road. Detroit has been terrible away from home. I still think they can cover the 7. I think they win by double digits.
You know what? I can't wait until Dallas plays. Where Detroit plays Cleveland, and we're going to force Ski to make a choice there because he's already put X's through both of those two teams. He ain't playing. I ain't playing Cleveland. I ain't playing Detroit. So I can't wait until that happens. But there is one other game on the board here tonight, guys, and it's Carmelo and company taking on the Denver Nuggets. How do you like this? The Denver Nuggets. Jokic, a shell of his former self from a year ago, having trouble scoring points. They are a little bit of a different team at home. Opened up as a 5.5-point favorite in this game. It's been pushed up to 6.5 total, hanging around that 214, a 214.5 number. And Marco, I'll start with you, man. Are you a believer? You think Portland might have found something here, man? A little combination. I mean, they lose Rodney Hood. Lose somebody else now, but they've been shooting better, been playing better. Do you trust them in this spot getting 6.5?
Well, I like this spot as far as fading Denver. This is one of my favorite angles, Joe. We got Denver returning home off of a East Coast road trip, a 4-game road trip, saw them go to New York, Boston, Brooklyn, and Philly, and now they return home. Most people love to jump on these home teams coming back and say, all right, especially a team that's on a losing streak like they are, they've lost 3 in a row, and say, well, now they're back at home, they're going to get it turned around. Not so much. That first game back, I see teams more often than not, Joe, have sluggish performances that first game back. You're getting back into a routine. You got family to deal with, the wife, the girlfriend, whatever, kids and everything. You've been on the road. Everybody wants to see dad. They got to take care of business. That first game, I'll take the points with the road team. Where I'll look at it, and this will be one of those ones, if we do get that subpar performance tonight from Denver, we'll get a sweet number in 2 days when they face Oklahoma City. And I think that's when we'll be able to really unload on Denver. So I'll be looking forward to that one if Denver just skates by tonight or loses outright. I'm on the dog in this one, and give you a stat on Portland. 42-23 against the spread after they play a non-conference game the last 3 seasons. And this is an NBA league-wide angle that over the last 5 seasons, if you play against home favorites in the range of 3.5 to 9.5, after going under the total by 48 points or more combined over their last 10 games in the month of December, you'd be 44-18 with this angle, and that applies to Portland tonight. So couple angles pointing Portland's way. One of my favorite situational spots favors Portland tonight going against Denver. I'm going to go ahead and be looking to be playing Portland here.
All right, Rob, the Trailblazers 10-15, but at least they're showing signs of a heartbeat here. A little bit of life, 5-3 out of the last 8. Denver just going in the other direction, man. It just hasn't been good. They are home. Do you trust them in this spot?
Yeah, it's a tough situation because there's conflicting arguments both ways here. From a fundamental standpoint, the depth-shy Portland Trailblazers in the thin air of Denver, you have to worry a little bit. Now, since Carmelo Anthony has come over, they haven't exactly been a defensive juggernaut. Carmelo doesn't play a lot of defense. And we've seen a couple of these Portland totals, guys, steam to the over within the last week or so, simply because they're not there. And a little bit smallish. Obviously, when your 2 best big guys are, on the injured list, and then you add Rodney Hood to it, and you have to substitute Kent Bazemore in, no longer on the bench, now as a starter. They're just thin, where Denver's pretty deep. Now, the Jamal Murray deal on Monday night, a little bit of a concern here if Jamal Murray can't play, but Denver's a team that can sustain pretty good performance because of the depth. We've talked about it a lot here on this show today. So fundamentally, Denver would set up as a nice play against this team. But to Marco's point, and I fully agree, you notice quite a bit that when teams come off extended road trips, that first game home is not a cakewalk in many, many instances. And it may not be one here for the Denver Nuggets. I happen to like this thing over the total because I do believe that Portland might wear out second half for Denver to capitalize point-wise. I think Portland's defense, as I said earlier, with Carmelo as part of this team now has not been great. And for Portland, Lillard and McCollum, one or the other goes off every night. So they're capable of 106, 108 at any time. And for me, this number 214 just looks a little bit too small. So I'll play over 214 in this game and just hope that the Portland defensive trend, they got to play the Knicks their last game, help their defensive numbers out a little bit. But I don't see that happening here tonight against the Nuggets.
Ski's got the point. The over 9-3 in the last 12 between these two teams. Their leading scorer, Jamal Murray, actually upgraded from questionable to probable here for this game tonight. And listen, they've shown some heart here, Portland. Denver's still trying to figure it out. Which way are you looking in this game?
Hey, I like that Jamal Murray's upgraded to probable. The way that gives me even more confidence in Denver. The way I want to look at this game, Denver coming off that road trip, we already know, going back to last year, they're much better at the house. They were the number 1 team at the house in the West last year. They didn't even have a winning record on the road last year. So they're not good on the road. All these 4 games where you're seeing them look bad, they're just on the road. This Denver, that's the team I'm used to on the road. Coming back to the house, I saw an interview, Coach Malone, pretty much just calling out his team and challenging his team, saying that they got to get right in this game. He needs to feed Jokic more, get Jokic more touches, and he did this once earlier in the year. When they started the year, they didn't look good. And then he had one of these interviews, and they went and won 9 of their next 10 games. I think coming back for 5 games, I think, in a row at the house, I think they're play on in all of these games. I think it starts here tonight. And Portland, they're 3-7 against the spread their last 10 road games. Denver has owned them over the last 15. Portland is 4-10-1 against the spread against Denver. Give me Denver. I think it starts tonight. They get it right.
Laying it down over there, thinking Jokic might find his stroke again. They need him, and it's good that they'll have Jamal Murray back as well. All right, guys, you got it. Those are the 4 games on the slate. So we'll go around the horn here. We'll ask for some of your best bets here tonight. What you guys are thinking, where you're pointing. If you got a prop, if you got anything along those lines, now would be the time. Forever hold your peace here. But let's go, Rob Veno. We'll let you go first here, brother. What do you got circled on the card here tonight? Where are you looking? Your best bets?
Well, I think that the Denver over certainly deserves to be played against Portland there, 214. I know Denver's a slow-tempo team, but I don't think they'll have much trouble with that defense. And to tell you the truth, Joe, I do not know the exact number because I'm not a big player props guy. But if I had to have a best bet on a player prop tonight, I would, again, look to Andre Drummond. The matchup advantage that he has against Dallas tonight should provide. And usually with him, you get that combined number, points plus rebounds plus something else. Whatever that number is tonight, probably in the mid-30s. It usually is between 35.5, 37.5. I would go ahead and play him over. I think even if Detroit doesn't get the money as a side, Andre Drummond certainly is going to have his way. And what these players probably will use as a little bit of a performance in Mexico City.
Interesting. Andre Drummond, too, his last 3 games averaging just over 20 points per game. So it's an interesting angle there, Ski, as far as Drummond maybe going off. He certainly has been as of late.
The one thing I want to just ask, I want to make sure. I mean, Drummond, I think, is questionable. He has something wrong with his left eye. I'm not sure if he's playing.
Yeah,
but if he
it's
plays,
still
he
questionable. Yeah, it was still questionable, but they haven't said anything along those lines. But they haven't ruled him out yet either.
Okay. Well, yeah, I think if he plays, he definitely does damage. So
his number is 17, by the way. That's his prop number there, 17 points. He's been averaging a little over 20 his last 3 games.
There you go. Well, I don't disagree. I'm looking at a prop as well, though. I talked a little bit about Jokic and about the interview with Coach Malone. Mm-hmm. He said they want to focus on getting him more touches. More touches means more points. Last time these teams played, I think he scored 20 points. His point total is at 19.5. Portland is not necessarily good defending centers. I'll take Jokic points over 19.5.
Like that. Is there a game or 2 here that you like here tonight? Your best bet? Where are you leaning?
I honestly would take that. As far as other games I like, I like Dallas to cover, and I probably like Boston.
I love that, man. Look at he's going a little bit, he's going contrarian here on us, Marco. I love it, man. He's going opposite. He's grabbing chalk, and he's just writing with it, man. He's just growing chalk all over the place. Talk to me here, Marco. What's some of your best bets here tonight?
Yeah, well, what would have really been funny right now is if Ski would have just, grabbed some powder, the chalk, and just, did to LeBron, now I would have lost it if he would have done that. But, these young kids, he still learn.
I got you.
And then he'll learn how to bring the props in. Mm-hmm. This one here, I agree with him on Boston. That is my best bet. And for me as a prop, not so much a prop, but a first half wager. And I'm going to go opposite where my guys are talking about all these points that are going to happen in Denver tonight. I'm going to ride this first half under, and here's why, guys. Denver, we're going to use the scenario of the teams returning home being sluggish. So if they're going to be sluggish, they're going to come out of the gate slow. If Ski's right and with the big speech, you're going to have the team that's going to be focused coming out of the gate, and they are one of the better teams. They do play slow. They have gone under the total in 17 of the 22 games this season. Now, I know when we're talking about Portland, that's a team that doesn't play defense.
Oh, I think we got frozen Marco over there here, but we'll get to his
one take on the total. I think the under Definitely under in the first half.
Definitely under in the first half in that game. Did you say Portland in that game, just to make sure we're on the same page?
Yeah, the Portland-Denver game, under.
Perfect. Interesting, man. Also here, I want to throw this number out at you guys that came across to us. Somebody just sent it in. The Mavs, obviously 5-1 against the number after a loss, but they're 9-1 against the number in the first half away. Ski, does that entice you at all to be looking at possibly the first half for the Mavs here?
Well, I already know they're great on the first half. They haven't been playing great in the first half over their last three. I did look at it this morning. Over their last three, I think the point margin in the first half was -3. So I would roll with it over the course of the game.
Let it see what's going on there. All right, guys, the plays are available. It's real simple. All you got to do is head over. You get Ski, you get Marco, you get those guys over at WagerTalk.com. Pretty simple stuff. And, of course, you will get Rob Veno over at SportsMemo.com. Packages available, guys. Plays available, not just tonight, but, of course, Friday, all weekend long. Don't forget, bowl season just around the corner. Take advantage of the opportunity. Your favorite cappers at both WagerTalk and Sports Memo right now. $149. You get every one of their bowl picks, including the 5% plays that run for $40. Take advantage of it right now. WagerTalk.com, SportsMemo.com. And all right, one final question before I let you go here. Marco, do the Knicks have double-digit wins when it's all said and done this year?
No.
Thank you very much. Good.
Unless they can schedule Golden State for 5 more games.
What do you think, Ski? They're gonna get double digits here? Because I do believe the record is. I know it was the strike shortening. I believe the Nets had 7, but it was that it was the lockout there in the 90s. But yeah, is it possible that we could be looking at the Knicks at under double digits this year?
You know, I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt. That's pretty terrible if they can't reach 10. And hopefully by the end of the season, when nobody cares anymore, they can scrape up some wins then. So I'll say they can at least get 10.
All right, he's getting at least 10. Rob, what do you think, man? Any hope for the Knicks whatsoever?
Yeah, I have to believe they'll make it to 10, Joe. They've got 5 already. You're halfway home, and we do know, like Ski says, what the end of the season brings. And there's some pretty lousy teams out there, as well as the Knicks, where they might be able to capitalize. As you mentioned, we saw it last night against Golden State. So I'll give them the benefit of the doubt as well. I'll say 10 is definitely achievable for the New York Knicks.
Under 10 wins. I want to throw up just talking about it. Ski Profit, at Ski Profit. Make sure you guys check him out on Twitter, at Rob Veno Sports, and, of course, the man himself, at Marco in Vegas on Twitter, WagerTalk, SportsMemo.com. That's where you guys got to go. Plays available right now. Make it a profitable night in the NBA. Come back and join us again tomorrow. We'll do it all over again. We'll have even more ways for you guys to be able to put money in your pocket. Marco, Ski, Rob, appreciate the time, guys. Good luck tonight. We'll talk to you again tomorrow.
Always a pleasure, Joe. Good luck, guys.
Take care.
Go Knicks.